into 4 divisions: central, provincial, district and village. The king ruled from Patliputra. He was assisted by a Marathi pras,
Mantri
pra,
Parishad, Mantri Parishad
or
or Council of Ministers, they were his advisors. All important decisions were taken by the king. Okay, stop. Never mind. So, children, class 6C, we are doing the chapter The First Empire, and kindly put today's date on this topic. The administration, it is 4th of December today. Kindly put today's date, and we are doing from the section The Administration. Now, when we are talking about the Mauryan Empire, the whole kingdom was divided into 4 groups. Like nowadays, also, the government, as you have studied in your civics chapter, is divided into how many groups? It is divided into 3 groups: the central government, the state government, and the local government. If you remember, right? What are the 3 levels of government? You have studied this in the chapter, key elements. So it is the central government or the union government, which has the prime minister, and then it is the chief minister's government, which is the state government, and then we have local government, means government of the city. In the similar way, the Mauryan Empire also was divided into 4 divisions. Underline these 4 divisions: central, provincial, district, and village. Please underline these 4 sections in your book. Central government, it was the king's government. The king ruled from Patliputra. If you remember, Patliputra was the capital city. Capital city of the Mauryan Empire also. He was assisted by a council of ministers. Like nowadays, we have a cabinet of ministers, different ministers who help the chief minister and the prime minister. In the similar way, there was a cabinet ministry or the council of ministers or a group of ministers who helped the king. They were his advisors. All important decisions were taken by the king himself. In the next level, at the next level, in the next group, the kingdom was divided into many province. Province यानी कि प्रांत. अलग अलग प्रांत में उनका जो kingdom था वो divide था. So like older days में it was divided into province. Nowadays the country is divided into states. For example, Uttar Pradesh is one state, Madhya Pradesh is one state, Maharashtra is another state. In the similar way, the government was divided into different province. Each province had one prince. Each province had one prince as a ruler. So central government had king as the ruler and provincial government had prince as the ruler. Each province had a prince. He too was assisted by many officers. Like a chief minister has a group of ministers who help him. In the similar way, the prince also had a group of ministers who used to help him in decision making and running the activities of the province. Each province was further divided into district. Nowadays also each state is divided into many districts. There are many districts in your state also. In Uttar Pradesh also we have many districts, and one such district is Lucknow district also. So in the similar way, each province was divided into different districts. A district is a group of many small villages and cities. The Pradeshata, underline the name Pradeshata. Pradesh say related, Pradeshata was the head of the district. Like we have the district magistrate. Do you know the name? DM. DM, district magistrate, right? In the similar way, Pradeshita was the head of the district. So in place of district magistrate, we had the Pradeshita, who was the head of the district, and he was assisted by the Yuktas and the Rajukas. These were different ministers. Yuktas ministers were there, Rajuka ministers were there. They used to take care of the district or Pradesh. Each district was made up of a number of villages, as I have told you. So every village had a village head or the headman या गांव का मुखिया. जैसे गांव का मुखिया होता है, in the similar way there was a village headman. Underline the name headman. Each village had a headman. He measured the land and collected tax from the villages. Now I would need somebody to read it out. May I request Aparajita to continue reading from taxation? Let us find out how people of the Mauryan Empire used to give tax to the king and how this amount of tax was used for the welfare of people. Aparajita, please read out from taxation.
Land revenue was the main source of the state's income. It varied from one-fourth to one-sixth of the produce. The other taxes levied were
Levi.
le- levied were water tax, sales tax, forest, mines, customs, etc. The money collected from these taxes were spent on maintaining the army, on paying salaries, and on building roads. Fines were also charged for littering in public places.
If you remember, I have told you whatever the farmers used to grow, they have to give one-fourth or one-sixth of the total produce to the king. For example, if they have produced 6 kgs of rice, 6 into 1 upon 6 means 1 kg of the rice will go to the king as tax. If they can't pay money, they have to give one-sixth of the produce to the king. And this food was used to feed the army, feed the elephants or horses of the army, and it is also used to feed the general workers of the king. Also, the money which the king received was spent on, underline these names, maintaining the army, paying salary, building roads. So all these were expenses for which the tax was used, and people were fined also. Like nowadays, when we do wrong, we are paid, we have to pay the fine. For example, if we don't wear a mask and we are riding on a road, we have to pay a certain fine, right? In the similar way, there was fine also, and this amount of fine was given to the king, and this was used for the welfare of people. Aparajita, quickly read out the army section.
Chandragupta Maurya had a huge army. The Senapati was the head of the army. The army consists of
6 lakh
6 lakh foot soldiers and 30,000
30,000.
cavalry, 9,000 war elephants, and 8,000 chariots. The Mauryans had an efficient spy system. The spies kept the king informed about the happenings of the kingdom.
Stop. Now, talking about the king's army was, of course, very strong because he was a very brave warrior. So, he had to maintain a nice army. The head of the army was the Senapati. Sena ka head was Senapati. And there were 6 lakh soldiers on foot, those who used to walk. There were 30,000 cavalry. Who is a cavalry? Those who ride on horses. वो वाले soldiers जो घुड़सवार होते हैं, जो हॉर्स पर सवारी करते हैं, those were called the cavalry. And there were 9,000 elephants and 8,000 chariots. 9,000 war elephants were there and 8,000 chariots. What is a chariot? Chariot means rath, युद्ध में जाने वाले रथ. And they had a very good spy system. उनके बहुत सारे जासूस हुआ करते थे. And the spies kept on telling the king if anybody is making a plan against the king, so that the king can keep himself warned about any incident or any planning happening in the empire. Yes, Aparajita, trade.
Trade and commerce also flourished during this time. The state was responsible for providing irrigational facilities, sanitation, and
Sanitation.
famine relief to its people. It had trade relations with China, Egypt, and Sri Lanka.
Now, trade Trade means buying and selling of things. When we buy goods and give out money, this is called trade. So not only with India, but the Mauryan Empire also did trade with other countries also. For example, with China, with Egypt and Sri Lanka. They used to export the goods made by them, and in return they used to get money. And the state means the government. The government was responsible for providing irrigation for the crops. Sanitation means cleanliness and famine relief. Famine means अगर किसी तरह की कोई बीमारी spread हो जाती थी, so it was the government's job to provide money for the cure and medicine of against that problem. For example, we have Prime Minister's Relief Fund these days against the epidemic coronavirus. In the similar way, there was famine relief from the government's side. Bindusara. Let us finally talk about the next king whose name was Bindusara. Dishant, will you read it out? Dishant, can you read this out? Nathan George, can you read this out? Bindusara. Nathan George, if you are able to listen to me, can you tell me?
Ma'am, can I read?
Who is this?
Can I?
Ridhima? Rishima. Okay, Ridhima,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
read because Rishima read yesterday also. Okay, Ridhima, you read out from
Okay.
Bindusara. Quickly.
Bindusara extended the Mauryan Empire as far as Mysore. He defeated and annexed 16 small
Annexed.
kingdoms.
Annexed means conquered. Annexed means jeet liya. Yes, he conquered 16 small kingdoms.
The only state that was left out was that of Kalinga. The kingdoms to the extreme south were friendly, so he did not annex them. During Bindusara's reign, the Mauryan administration functioned smoothly. The empire had good relations with Greeks, Syrians, and Egyptians.
Syrians and Egyptians. So here is a small little information about Bindusara, the next king, the second king of the Mauryan Empire. And who was Bindusara? He was Chandragupta Maurya's son. If you remember, Chandragupta Maurya gave up his throne for his son Bindusara, and because kingship was hereditary, so Bindusara, who was Chandragupta Maurya's son, he became the next king, and he extended further his father's empire, and he extended it to Mysore. Means now the Mauryan Empire spread up to South India also. And during Bindusara's reign, Mauryan administration functioned smoothly, and they had good relations with other countries also, like Greeks, like Syrians, and like Egyptians. So with Egypt and with Syria, they had very good relations. So this was all they have told about Bindusara, who ruled from 297 to 273 BC. Underline this. This is important. 297 to 273 BC. Okay, let us talk about the most important section of this topic, Ashoka. Please be very attentive because this is interesting also and this is important also. Yes, Rishima, continue. Ridhima, continue reading from Ashoka 273 to 232 BC. Ridhima. Prabhati, can you read out from Ashoka?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ridhima, continue reading. Okay, Ashoka.
Okay, ma'am. Bindusara was succeeded by his son Ashoka. The Mauryan Empire reached its peak under him. Ashoka invaded Kalinga in 261 BC and defeated the Kalinga army. Kalinga surrendered, and for the first time, the whole of the Indian subcontinent, except the regions of extreme south, was under his rule.
Okay, so if you check out the green color section in the map, can you see the green color section in the map? It is spread to almost whole of India. Total India was under Mauryan Empire except for a small part of South India, right? Which is grey in color. And they have extended to the northwestern side also. For example, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Uh, this shows that Ashoka expanded the Mauryan Empire to a greatest extent. He was the greatest king of the Mauryan Empire. And he invaded Kaling. Kaling was a very important place, and he invaded Kaling in 261 BC and defeated the Kaling army. Earlier, Kaling was not under control of Mauryas, but later on, Ashoka invaded or Ashoka attacked Kaling, and he achieved and he won over and he conquered Kaling also. If you check out Kaling, it is near Bay of Bengal. Can you check out where exactly is Kalinga? Find it out. It is somewhere near present day West Bengal. Somewhere near present day West Bengal. Can you see where is Kalinga written? Near Bay of Bengal?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you find out where is Kaling? Right? So why is Kaling? Why was he interested in Kaling? Because Kaling was so close to Bay of Bengal, it had a very good seaport. And all the goods which were coming from other countries और जितना भी trade होता था, export import होता था, for that purpose a seaport was required. और उसके लिए कलिंग को कैप्चर करना बहुत जरूरी था ताकि जितना भी ट्रेड हो वो उनके अपने एम्पायर से हो और उसका सारा पैसा उसी किंग को मिले, मॉरियन किंग्स को मिले. और इसलिए उन्होंने कलिंग को कैप्चर किया बिकॉज कलिंग वाज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेट, very important place. Let us find out about the Kaling War. Kaling War that was fought in 261 BC was a very important war which was fought ever in the Indian history. Let us find out how Kaling War changed King Ashoka's life. Continue.
Kaling War. The War of Kaling was a turning point in the life of Ashoka. Thousands of soldiers had died on either side. Many were wounded and crippled. There was death and destruction everywhere. This made Ashoka sad and unhappy. He decided he would never fight any more wars. He gave up all forms of violence and became a strict vegetarian. He embraced Buddhism for the rest of his life. Digvijay, or the policy of conquest, was replaced by Dharma Vijay, or the victory of Dharma.
Stop. Now Kaling War, stop. Kaling War was very important. Why? Because पहले तो अशोका ये चाहते थे that Kaling should come under his control. He was trying a lot that Kaling should come under his control. But when the Kaling War was over, Ashoka went to the war front to find out what exactly happened in the war. And when he went to the war site, जब वो युद्ध के मैदान में पहुंचे, then he saw that there were dead bodies all around. Many people were wounded. There was fire all around and many people were crippled. Crippled means बहुत से ऐसे soldiers थे जिनके हाथ पैर कट गए थे. Then there were people who were crying because the family members were dead. There were people who were crying because their hands and feet were cut. So when Ashoka saw all this, he became really very sad. He said, "Is this my victory? क्या यही मेरी विजय है कि मैंने बहुत सारे लोगों को मार दिया? No, 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 no. I am not going to fight any more fights. I am not going to fight any more wars." And this is when he gave up. He gave up on fighting any more wars. और उस दिन से उन्होंने युद्ध करना छोड़ दिया. उन्होंने कहा कि अब मैं लोगों को मार के नहीं जीतूंगा, अब मैं लोगों का हृदय परिवर्तन करूंगा. I am going to tell some good things, give them knowledge about God, and I would try to change their heart, because killing them and winning them is not important, but changing their heart is more important. So he gave up the policy of Digvijay. Digvijay means fighting and winning, but he decided to replace it with Dharma Vijay, means winning through Dharma or winning through religion. And we all have discussed that he embraced which religion? He embraced the religion Buddhism. And because Buddhism says to practice non-violence, Buddhism says to practice ahimsa, so Ashoka also started to practice ahimsa. Quickly read out Ashoka's dham. Dham means what was Ashoka's policy of winning through religion. धर्म विजय के लिए उन्होंने एक नया religion, एक नई religious value setup करी, and the name was Ashoka's dham या Ashoka's dharma, and he selected certain officers who went out to preach, who went out to give the sermon for God and to change people's heart. Yes, Rishima. Rishima, read out from Ashoka's Dham.
Ashoka's Dham. Ashoka was inspired by the teachings of the Buddha. Ashoka wanted his people to live a virtuous life. This he called Dham. Dham is the Prakrit form of the Sanskrit word dharma. Ashoka's
Underline
Dham.
this. Dham is the Prakrit form of the word dharma. Yes.
Ashoka's Dham preached moral values. He advised people to respect their elders and to practice ahimsa, non-violence. Ashoka was against the killing of animals. Above all, Ashoka wanted peace in his empire.
So as I have told you, dham means dharma in Sanskrit. There were many people who were appointed by Ashoka to spread dharma. अलग अलग जगह पर लोग जाते थे और लोगों को धर्म के बारे में बताते थे. And he said that all of you should practice non-violence. You must practice ahimsa or non-violence. And Ashoka wanted peace in his empire. He said, no more wars, only peace in the empire. Welfare measures. We can take up welfare measures also. Read out, Rishima.
Welfare measures. Ashoka believed that the king should look upon his subjects as a father treats his children. He was responsible for carrying out a lot of welfare activities like building of roads, planting of trees, construction of wells, rest houses for travelers, hospitals for the sick, etc.
So Ashoka believed that I am the father and my people are my children. Like a father takes care of his children, I will also take care of all the welfare measures of my people. So he built up roads, he built up trees, he planted trees, sorry. He built up many hospitals, he built up restrooms, and he provided all the facilities to his people. अपनी प्रजा का एक पिता के समान ध्यान रखते थे. Spread of Dham. Let us find out how Ashoka's dharma was spread not only in India but to other places as well. Yes, Rishima.
Spread of Dham. In order to spread his Dham, Ashoka appointed officials called Dham Mahamatas.
Dham Mahamatas. Underline the name. Dham Mahamatas.
They were required to explain Dham to the people and to supervise the moral life of the people. Ashoka had friendly relations with his neighbors. He sent and received envoys to and from them. He sent Buddhist missions to Burma and other Southeast Asian countries. Ashoka also sent his son Mahendra and daughter
Sanghamitra
Sanghamitra to Sri Lanka on a Buddhist mission. He also propagated Buddhism in Chola and Pandya
kingdoms. So spread of Dham was not only in Ashoka's empire, but it reached out to Egypt, Sri Lanka, China, Myanmar, and later on to various other countries as well. He has appointed some dharma officials or some dharma officers, which were called what? Which were called dharma mahamatas. Along with this, Ashoka's son Mahendra and his daughter Sanghamitra, वो भी अलग अलग कंट्रीज में जाते थे और लोगों को धर्म के बारे में या अशोकास धाम के बारे में बताते थे. The Chola and Pandya were different kingdoms of India. Like there was Mauryan kingdom, there were Chola kingdom and there were Pandya kingdom also. इन kingdoms को भी अशोका ने धर्म के बारे में या धाम के बारे में बताया. Rishima, quickly read out Ashoka's edicts.
Ashoka's edicts. Ashoka's rock edicts and pillar inscriptions show the significance of Dham. The edicts stress on simple virtues like
Virtues like
respect for the teacher and respect for all living beings. The edicts are written mostly in Prakrit. The edicts have been placed in different parts of the empire so that people might read them. These edicts have been found in India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nepal.
so when we were doing the first chapter, if you remember, there was one uh, archaeological reference which was called as inscriptions. Inscriptions were clay tablets, they were stone pillars on which the king used to write something which was related to incidents that have happened there. In the similar way, Ashoka also put up certain edicts. And what were these edicts? For example, if you check out rock edict of Ashoka, इसमें इन्होंने कुछ elephant के जैसा structure बनाने की कोशिश करी है. And then there is one Ashoka's pillar at Vaishali. There is one bull capital at Rampurva. There is one Sachi Stupa also. So all these were certain monuments or inscriptions या कुछ objects होते थे जिसके used to write something. The King Ashoka wanted कि even after his death, people should read on these edicts and find out more about King Ashoka. So he set up these inscriptions. He set up these clay tablets. और इन tablets पर इन structures के ऊपर King Ashoka के life के important events के बारे में लिखा जाता था, so that even after Ashoka's death, people could read it out. You will be happy to know that the national emblem of India, I hope you know the lion capital, which is the national emblem of India. The photo is also given above the did you know box. This is also Ashoka's emblem. Ashoka का ही emblem है जिसको बाद में national emblem of India करके accept किया गया. Let us find out about the decline of Mauryan Empire. I will read it out. The great stupa at Sachi was originally commissioned by Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century. It was a nucleus and it was simple hemispherical brick structure built over the relics of Buddha. So Lord Buddha की जहाँ पर ashes रखी गई हैं, Lord Buddha की कहते हैं जहाँ पर body रखी गई है, उसके ऊपर भी एक temple बनाया King Ashoka ने, and this was called as the Sachi Stupa. Underline the term Sachi Stupa, and it is a structure which is very famous in India. Decline of the Mauryan Empire. Like every other empire, Mauryan Empire का भी अंत हुआ. Mauryan Empire also came to an end. The Magadhan Empire or the Mauryan Empire, which had been read by successive wars, culminating the conquest of Kaling, began to disintegrate after the exit of Ashoka. And after Ashoka, King Ashoka left the empire, King Ashoka के बाद के जितने भी Mauryan kings थे, they were not very strong, and that's when Ashokan Empire came to an end. The Mauryan Empire was finally destroyed by Pushyamitra Sangha. Underline the name Pushyamitra Sangha, and this is how Sangha dynasty came into existence in India. Mauryan dynasty came to an end, and Sangha dynasty came into existence. He was a Brahmin general of the last Mauryan king named Brihadratha. Pushyamitra killed Brihadratha in public and unspurred the throne of Patliputra. और पुष्यमित्र ने king को मार दिया, and this is how Sangha kingdom came into existence. Because we are already out of time, so people please read out the post Mauryan kingdoms. It is not required basically, but you can read it out for your reference. The Indo-Greeks and the Satavahanas. And let us mark down the next exercise. I hope you have marked exercise C on that day.
Yes.